I have been married for over 30 years to my high school sweetheart, Barbara. I call her Babs. We have 4 adult children, our son Connor, Aaron, Kaylee, and Taylor. We live in the suburbs, have all our life. We've had a lot of SUVs and a dog named Chapin. I was in my office and my oldest daughter, Erin, came in. Now, Erin has always been our wisdom child. You know, the child that always knows the right thing to say or to do. She looked around my office, and on the top right were my binders and notes for all the things I was doing with Vistage, a CEO organization. I had 3 full-day meetings I facilitated, and I had 30 one-to-ones. On the bottom right were the binders and the folders of all the things I was doing at my church. I was the moderator of the church. It was nearly a full-time job. And on the top left were all the books I wanted to read, some of the books I had read, and there were post-it notes all around my desktop. It was chaos. And that was only my desk. And Erin looked at me, and she said, Dad, get off the treadmill. I sat in silence for what seemed like hours. And I began to ponder, what was my treadmill like? What is your treadmill like? It was the inspiration for writing my book, Getting Off the Treadmill. I have 3 promises for you this morning. I'm going to share with you ways to lead an intentional and fulfilling life by paying attention. I'm going to help you learn ways to do a daily reflection, to reduce stress, rejuvenate your life, become more productive at work, and be more present at home. I'm going to help you find ways to utilize goals in your daily life. By a show of hands, how many of you are tired at night? Are you glad to crawl into bed? But tell me this, are you good tired or are you bad tired? I will never forget the first time I heard about good tired and bad tired. It was from the late singer-songwriter Harry Chapin. Do you remember Harry? Harry had one #1 hit. It was called Cats in the Cradle. He died in 1981, and the only good thing that came out of Harry's death were a few recordings. One of them was about his grandfather. Listen to Harry's words. My grandfather was a painter. He died at age 88. He illustrated Robert Frost's first 2 books of poetry. And he was looking at me and he said, Harry, there's 2 kinds of tired. There's good tired and there's bad tired. Bad tired could be a day, ironically, that you won, but you won other people's battles. You lived other people's days. You chased other people's dreams. When you went to bed at night, there was very little you in there. You didn't sleep so easy. He said, good tired could be a day that you lost, but you don't even have to ask yourself because you chased your dreams, you lived your days, you fought your battles. And when you went to bed at night, you slept well. He said, all my life I wanted to be a painter. I wish I would have been more successful, but I painted, and I'm good tired, and they could take me away. What a beautiful articulation. Good tired has become a mantra in my life. At the end of the day, to want to be good tired. How many of you have a mantra? And are you good tired? My dad was good tired. Howard Lauesen, he was a lather, a carpenter. He was on his feet all day and built beautiful structures. He was an artisan. Beautiful homes, archways in shopping centers that he was so proud of, commercial spaces. There were 3 things I learned about my dad one summer when I worked with him. He took pride in his work. He loved his work. And boy, my dad was passionate about the work, passionate about putting a good day's work in. And at the end of the day, my dad would sit in that recliner, and more often than not, he would fall asleep. Physically exhausted. Can you imagine? Every day in all types of weather. But my dad, he was good tired. My wife, I think of as good tired at night. I had a brilliant idea. Brilliant. When my youngest daughter graduated high school, I signed us up for a 6-week meditation class. 1 day a week, 90 minutes. The goal of the class at the end was to be able to meditate for 20 minutes. Okay, I struggled with this, but I eventually got there. You know, your mind races, all these things. Meditation's hard. Well, at the end of the 6 weeks, we went around in this small class, and the instructor, Rama, looked at my wife, who was the last to volunteer. Said, Barbara, how are you doing? And Barbara looked at her with tears in her eyes and a quivering lip. She said, I can't do 10 minutes, let alone 20. Rama looked right at her and said, could you do 1 minute 20 times a day? Barbara took a deep breath. At the end of the day, Barbara takes a bath every night. Whether she feels good, whether she's sick, it doesn't matter. She just rests back there and does her meditation time. It's her quiet time. She reflects on the day. What did I do well? What am I grateful for? I had an experience in college of gratitude. My freshman year at University of Minnesota, at the end of football practice, we would run wind sprints. They called them gassers. Don't you love that term, gassers? You'd be like gassed. Oh. And we're about in the middle of them, and an assistant coach comes over to a group of us and says, you guys are all feeling sorry for yourself. That's how they talk then. Yeah. Look at this guy over here. And we all looked up, and in the adjacent track was a young man running around the track laboriously with cerebral palsy. He said, what would he feel, what would he give to feel like you? You know, it changed my whole perspective. My whole perspective of being tired, physically tired. I had no physical limitations. That day forward, I am always grateful for all the blessings in my life. All the blessings. What are you grateful for? You have so many things in your life to be grateful for. It's a great way to do a daily reflection and just to think about what's bigger than us. My son Connor's our oldest. In high school, Connor had some really struggles. He developed some mental health issues, and in the end, he had a major depression. As he was in that depression, he eventually shared with us something that he had kept a secret for 3 years. He was sexually abused at 13 in our home by an adult, a woman. We never knew this. He kept it a secret. We did everything we could for Connor. Every resource we brought to him, he tried and he tried and he tried. And in the end, we were left with a resort that we never even knew about, to have him escorted out to an emotional growth program. They have these programs all around the country, but in Utah, this particular one, an educational consultant recommended to us. So I said, well, how do we get Connor there? Oh, you call John Hayward. I said, oh, okay. Well, he's an escort. He does this. I said, okay, so I called John. Hi, John. Mike Lauesen here. We're looking to have our son escorted to Second Nature. Oh, yeah, I've been there many times. I said, well, how many times have you done this? He said, I've lost track, Mr. Lauesen. I said, you're hired. When do you want to do this? I said, we want to do it Memorial Day weekend. It's his birthday. He's turning 17. He said, okay. We set up a time and a date. Barbara and the girls were with some friends overnight at a lake house. Connor and I had a beautiful weekend. We planted flowers. We spent time together. We went to bookstores. 4 o'clock in the morning came. I didn't sleep well that night. Headlights. I opened the door and John Hayward came in. John Hayward was the Incredible Hulk. He was the biggest man I'd ever seen in my life come through the door. And behind him, he introduced Trevor. Now, Trevor barely fit through the door. Could have played middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears. Where's Connor? Well, he's sleeping. Let's go wake him up. So we went up to Connor's bedroom. They're at the threshold of the door. I wake up Connor. Connor, remember we talked about those outward bound programs? Yeah, Dad. I said, well, Trevor and John here, they're here to get you there. And he looks up and he says, hi, boys. And puts his head back down. That's when John Hayward said, Mr. Lauesen, you can go now. Words I'll ever, always remember. I went to the lakefront and I watched the sun come up and I cried my eyes out. I cried for the fear and the anxiety of, what are we doing the right thing? Was this going to save his life like we thought it was? His behavior was so self-destructive. Connor's now finishing up his PhD at Stanford. You talk about being grateful. Grateful to have a program like that for your son. I don't regret ever sending him there. I think it saved his life. But I do regret I didn't pay attention enough. I didn't pay attention to what happened in my own home on my watch. My mom knew how to pay attention. There were 8 siblings. I have 7 siblings, 8 kids. Anytime I came into the room, there were 3 things about my mom, just like my dad. She smoked Winston's almost all the time, 3 packs a day. So as Winston was always going, there was a can of beer, an old Milwaukee can of beer, and a book. My mom was a voracious reader, and she loved to read. She gave that gift to all of us. But when you came into the room, Mom would put that book down. And when she'd give me the purity of her attention. And she would listen. So no matter where I was, no matter what I said. Young, college, adult, when my kids were born. And all my siblings have this same experience with my mom. She knew how to pay attention. And listen, what a gift of purity of attention. Rama gave that to Barbara. My mom gave that to me. Where do you need to pay attention more? At home? At work? With your loved ones? Where do you need to listen more? Is it with your kids, your grandkids, your siblings, your good friendships? I knew another person who was a voracious reader. His name was Stephen Snyder. He was a subject matter expert on going to your peaceful place. In the group I facilitate, I was also a member at one time of a business owner CEO group. And Stephen shared going to your peaceful place and how to do that. And you say, well, what's your peaceful place? Well, it's something that you can create in your unconscious mind. And it could be real and it could be imaginary. And so some of us are visual learners, some of us are auditory, and some of us are kinesthetic. We feel, we connect. And some of us are gifted to have all 3. So I created a place immediately in the workshop. I was going to be in Kaanapali Beach. I'd been there before. It's a lovely place. We were in this beautiful high-rise. Well, I went up a little bit higher and I created a 360-degree veranda. And on the right, I can see Kapalua Bay. And on the left, I can see the ocean coming, and I could turn around and I could see Lahaina behind me. And it's warm and it's sunny and I feel a breeze. Oh, and by the way, I see a peregrine falcon on the balcony because that's my friend. And I don't think they're in Hawaii, but they're in my peaceful place. And I go there whenever I want to reduce stress and to focus. Stephen calls it your alpha, your total alpha state, the brainwave state, total focus concentration. I was so excited about this. I wanted to share it with my family. So my 6-year-old daughter, Taylor, I said, Taylor, we're going to go to this peaceful place, and it's wonderful. We're going to go there before bed, and anytime you get stressed or you feel not safe, you can go to your peaceful place. So we closed our eyes, took a deep breath, and we did this for 5 days in a row. And at the end, the last day, Taylor, let's go to our peaceful place. After my 30 seconds to a minute, I opened my eyes. And Taylor's eyes were open and tears were running down her cheeks. Daddy, Daddy, I can't see anything. It's dark. And I went and gave Taylor a hug. I said, Taylor, darkness is as beautiful as it gets and as peaceful as it gets. When we pay attention, sometimes our life can be transformed. The alpha state. I was in the alpha state, total focus concentration. At my last year of college, I heard a motivational speaker. His name was Bob Richards. Bob Richards won a couple of Olympic gold medals in the pole vault. He was also the spokesperson for Wheaties, Breakfast of Champions. He was the first athlete on the cover of a Wheaties box. And when he took the stage, he captivated the audience. This black hair, chiseled face, bright eyes, this wonderful barrel chest from years of pole vaulting. And he had 4 simple things for goals, 4 guideposts. First, you got to write them down. You got to write them down. You got to look at them every day. And they'd be good if they were specific, measurable, and maybe time sensitive. I want to be a great person. Well, that's not specific and measurable. And what's the time sensitivity? Is it a year? Is it 6 months? I want to learn to meditate, 6 weeks, right? Second thing, you got to pay the price. And he told Olympic story after Olympic story of athletes working so hard to get their gold medal or to try to be on the podium. My wife, she paid a price. Barbara has a PhD. She's a baby specialist in infancy. And you know what, Babs? 9 years, 4 kids, struggling business, hardly took any time away from the children. Amazing. She was sleep deprived for 9 years. What a price to pay. Falling asleep in the line picking up the kids was a pretty regular occurrence for Barbara. Sleep deprivation. What have you paid a price for? For your goals, your metaphoric gold medal. And the third guidepost he talked about, I'll never forget it. You got to feel you deserve great things to happen to you. It's like, great things to happen to me. Do I deserve that? It's about your attitude. And it comes back to an attitude of gratitude. And you know, you could do all 3 things. And are you always on the podium? Do you always get the gold medal? That national anthem that's played? Not always. So he said, you got to enjoy the journey, the voyage. Harry Chapin again. It's got to be the going, not the getting there. That's good. I shared with you 3 promises. Find ways to lead an intentional, fulfilling life by paying attention. Help you learn ways to do a daily reflection. And talked a little bit about utilizing goals in your daily life. Who are your Bob Richards? We may not be able to be on the cover of a Wheaties box, but we can inspire our friends, our colleagues, and our loved ones. That is, if we get off the treadmill. I wish you many long, beautiful days and good tired nights. Thank you.